Welcome to the podcast.
The podcast.
I'm Ricky Sands.
Daniel Heidbrink.
Andy Rivera.
The podcast where we talk about podcasting things.
Music.
Podcasting music.
Podcasting church things.
Movies.
Lots of stuff.
And books.
And other things.
Tune in as often as we can remember to record these things.
The podcast.
Podcast.
With
Ricky Sands.
Daniel Heidbrink.
Andy Rivera.
Well, welcome everybody to the podcast. We are here today doing our thing, recording another episode for you today. I think today we're going to focus on just music. All of us have a background in music here. So my name is Ricky Sands, and with me I've got Mr. Andy Rivera and Daniel Heidbrink.
What's
up, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, so all of us have a different story, a different...
Sorry.
Dang it.
Daniel's over here writing.
I'm like, what do you want me to
Ricky's
say?
face. He's like, Ricky, make sure you read this.
Make sure you read this. Yeah, anyways.
We're so official.
We're gonna just chat with you guys about music and what it's basically like, how the Lord really has used music to just draw him closer to himself. I know that all of us, and Andy's in a band now, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be considered a Christian band per se. They don't label themselves Christian. Daniel and I have played in secular bands in the past together.
Dude, are you playing in a secular band right now?
Dude, I'm a Christian who plays music.
He's a Christian who plays music. So, but anyways.
My name is, who's the lead singer from Switchfoot? Dude, I saw him in concert.
John Foreman.
John Foreman.
Right?
Yeah, not Red Foreman. Not Red Foreman.
Red Foreman?
That's their new show.
Oh,
Now
I
it
know
makes
what you're
sense,
talking
right?
about.
Right. Yeah, I saw Switchfoot once, and they were like, they didn't say anything about God. Like, they were just like, but
Really?
love.
Well,
really
God
did
is love, though.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I mean, technically, every time you say love, it's like
That's
saying
true.
God,
That's very true.
because he is love.
Yeah.
Just kind of caught me off guard.
That's so deep.
So,
So-
I mean, anyways, I think, we're all really passionate about music. We all serve at the church in some type of musical capacity. When I started going to church at the Edge, it was serving as a bass player on Sunday mornings. Then learned how to run live sound, do stuff like that.
He didn't even know how to play notes.
Actually, that's a true story. If you follow me on Facebook, you can actually find a picture on there that I took. I actually took a piece of tape and ran it down the neck of my bass, and I wrote all the root notes for the E string so that I knew what I was
Nice.
playing. So that was like my reference point on Sunday mornings. And so I never really looked out to the congregation. I was always looking at my hands, making sure that I was falling on the right.
Make sure he was hitting the right Z chords and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Z
Those
chords.
full bar
Yeah,
Z
the
chords.
full S's and the O's.
They'll get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. And they're so deep. We play in such a weird tuning.
Yeah, sometimes we go to Wombo, so.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think what we'll kind of do is just kind of talk about things. Daniel and I's path cross quite frequently.
So why don't you like start off to kind of talk about how music is? I mean, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but
Well, I mean, I think I'll kind of start with how I even got into music.
yeah.
I was a junior high kid, and you know our buddy Pat Kelly, mutual friend. He started going to school at Mid-Buck, where I was going to school at the time, and I was actually going to take guitar lessons with him. But I went over to his house and we were like hanging out. And I saw this guitar sitting in the corner of the room, but it was like a different type of guitar. It wasn't a 6-string guitar. He was going to give me guitar lessons, all this stuff, and I literally looked at him and said, "Hey, what's that thing?" Like, not even kidding. I had no idea what a bass guitar was. I was a little rapper kid, like listening to Eminem and like those types of things. And so,
Fred Durst. Right,
yeah,
right,
Fred
right,
Durst.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, bring it home. Come, give me something to break. And so I was like, "Yeah, man, what's that?" And he was like, "You know what? We actually need a bass player." And I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, so that's when I learned what a bass guitar was."
Did they know you had no lessons at all?
Oh, he knew. He was supposed to be giving me lessons, and so he taught me how to play. But it was something that it was a natural thing for me. I picked it up so quick. The ability to understand rhythm and play and those things, and so I went home, practiced every single day. Literally, like my dad would tell stories about I'd be playing and I'd play till my fingers would bleed. I would get blisters and they would pop. And
I remember those days.
Would tape. Yeah, I'd put tape on my fingers so I could keep going.
Tape on the fingers. I've
Yeah.
never done that.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
I
Well,
suck with
'cause
my
it hurt
guitar. I called my first acoustic guitar. It was the worst guitar in the world. It was the old like Squire one. Maria was her name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
Hey.
right. Every time we would fall asleep in bed together, and I'd wake up and my guitar was always out of tune.
I wonder why.
All the time. Yeah,
You're
no.
sleeping with your guitar.
Yep.
I used to tape my fingers when I drum too.
Yeah, well,
That
dude,
was-
man, calluses in between. Yeah.
And I still actually, the kit that I have set up in our house right now still has some of the, it's kind of nasty, but it has some of the spots of blood on it.
The residue.
From one of the shows that we played.
Mm-hmm.
It literally, my hand started bleeding and blood kind of went on the top of the drum head, so it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Kind of gross.
Hardcore.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My
You're not
dad just
hardcore,
said,
you
"Suck
live
it up,
hardcore."
stop crying."
Our
Yeah.
that band, our slogan was like every time before we'd get up for a show was we were getting ready to melt faces. So
It's weird how like we always say that like we're gonna melt faces, but everyone's faces always stay the same.
I've never physically seen anyone's face.
What would it
melt.
look like if
Right.
people's faces were
And
melting?
we'd always
like
use the-
icicles melting.
we'd always use the meme from the Indiana Jones movie where the guy opens up the Ark of the Covenant and his face just
Oh,
like and it,
yeah.
like it's all like claymation kind of coming off of his
Was it a meme
face.
then, or was it back then that?
I think it was a
just
meme
thing?
at that time too.
Man,
I
'cause
think
they're GIFs
instantly
now.
when that scene was first shown to the
No, a
first
GIF is with
viewing.
motion, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's actually a GIF.
Can we
Oh.
find that on the GIF keyboard? I would like. Anyways, I've never physically seen anyone's face melted from my bass playing abilities. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into music. Started playing at 14. I was in a band called Crease.
Not to be confused with-
CREESE.
Wow.
Not to be confused with Creed
Yeah, not to be confused with Creed.
or Lady Gaga.
So we were in a band. Our never released EP was "Live to Die."
Nice.
Is it released now?
No, it's
Can we? Release
it's all
it?
up here.
Oh,
if you
the
can't
old
see me,
dog.
but I'm pointing towards my head. We released the EP in our heads,
Nice.
and we
That's all that counts.
we practiced air guitar on the deck.
Took the world by storm.
Yeah. So
Dude, are you
R.I.P.
going to see
Crease.
Crease tonight?
right, it's
No,
got such
I
a name.
can't.
We spelled
Yeah.
Crease wrong. I still don't understand why we did that.
Was it
So
like 5 E's?
then my buddy Pat moved away, broke my heart. Band broke up. Then I was able to join a band later on called How About the Truth. Played bass in that band for a while. That band broke up. Then we were in a band called The Liar Scene.
Oh my gosh, you guys were in the liar scene?
Yeah, dude.
We were.
What?
Yeah, and then I was
Oh
like,
my
"Hey,
gosh.
Daniel, you're joining this band." So then he joined the
Yep.
band. We did that thing for a couple of years.
And actually, rewind when me and Ricky started hanging out in college, in my little dorm room, we would like get together and just like dream about starting a band,
Right.
and then it eventually happened.
Makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
It did.
Your dream became an almost reality.
Yes.
No, we were a band. We actually released stuff too.
Not in the noggin.
Huh?
What?
Not in the noggin.
We were on a sampler, man.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Go DIY Records. Do you remember that? It was
Go
such a crappy
DIY
recording.
Records.
It was bad,
Yes, it was bad. Oh my gosh.
but it was fun though.
It was
Sounds
fun.
horrible.
But it was awesome, and I think we had to pay like a certain amount of money to be on it. And
So you had to pay to be on the sampler. Don't you just love those?
yeah, bro, that's how the music business
Hey, I
works
want
now.
you guys
like,
to play a show, but you have to pay to get on.
yeah, that's pay to play, man.
Pay
Yeah.
to play.
Welcome to the music. That's a whole nother podcast episode. We could talk about
Things
music
to
business,
do,
music
not
industry.
to do, things not to get into.
Right.
Be smart
So,
about it.
but yeah, I mean, like the whole time growing up, I never realized that my musical ability was from God. I was, I say that I was an atheist, but I was probably closer to like an agnostic at the time, not really sure what I believed, believing in God, but not really knowing what or who God was. Daniel, though, in the band, being a Christian, him and I, we would co-labor over the lyrics. And so I would take a lot of what he would say and make it like a personal reflection into like a relationship or something of that nature, a physical relationship that is. And then I would find out years later after God calling me into a relationship with himself that half of these songs that I've been singing have been some type of desperate cry to God.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah, now it all makes sense.
Like
I
after
still
all
go
said
back
and
and, I listen to the CD, but it's just like a completely different take on things now. Songs like Daylight, specifically, heavy, like, undertones of just the light of Christ, and those things. And so when I became a Christian, I basically kind of stopped playing music and then started going to church. And then Seth, the worship leader at the time, was like, "Man, you should play." Actually, Andy outed me in front of our old pastor at a cookout. You remember that? He said, "Oh, he's a pretty good bass player." I'm like, "I'm not really that great."
Sometimes you got to throw people under a good bus. So.
Yeah. So
he actually is a good bass player, but
I don't know. But
he actually is a good bass player. That was not an echo.
And so, I started serving at the church, playing bass, and through that, like, just God really was just like revealed to me, like, man, I gave you this gift and this talent. Use it to exalt and glorify my name. And really through music, and then I discovered spoken word poetry and those types of things. I started doing some of that stuff on the side.
I thought he was the next Shakespeare at that time.
Which are you still doing? Spoken word stuff?
I have a ton of stuff that I've never like released. Like I've got quick things.
It's all
that
unreleased. It's in his noggin.
It's all in my noggin.
It's all in his noggin.
It's all up here.
The Lost Noggin EP.
The Lost Noggin EP. I might call it that.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Actually, that's nice.
Sometimes you have to go with what you're working with.
Right. I'm still doing it. I still like follow guys like Levi the Poet all the time.
Yeah.
Like he's probably easily my favorite spoken word artist.
That guy's intense.
Right. Dan.
He's all voice.
The guy from Listener. I can't remember his last name, but he's another great like spoken word artist that I'm like, man, these guys get it. So I still do that, but like through that, like we've all worshiped together in like different ways, and really God has used music to just draw me closer to Him, and it's been an amazing, beautiful experience. And I would even say, Daniel, like, because our paths have crossed, like, you really used music, and even if some of it was unintentional or in a way that was more subconscious, but evangelistically, like God used you in the way that our paths have crossed, to draw me into a relationship with Himself. And so so what about you?
I really don't feel like talking about me today.
Yeah, we decided to do a podcast of 3 people, but we're just going to be a podcast of 2.
Right. No, I'll try to. So I was that kid growing up that never wanted to try anything if I felt like I could fail. And because I dealt with a lot of anxiety growing up. So I can still clearly remember going down one day, and I don't remember what grade it was in, when they started introducing us to like instruments to play in band. I don't know, was that like
it's like fifth grade,
fourth grade,
or
or fifth grade, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
I played the bells.
And
straight up, percussion.
Dong. But I still clearly remember like going downstairs into the basement of our school, and like they had all the instruments laid around, and I remember like looking at them and thinking like, wow, this would be so cool. Everybody was just excited, and that fear, that anxiety just kicked in, and it was like, no, you want to be able to do this. Like it's gonna be too hard. Like you won't be able to figure out the notes. You're gonna sound bad.
He like sat down as a kid and just immediately busted out blast beats. Just
right. From that moment on, I was a drum prodigy. And
do the intro to Phil Collins.
Right.
I can feel it. Yeah. And so I don't know. How old are you in like 5th grade?
10 or 11
think
ish.
you're anywhere between 5 and 15.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere between
that adds
that
up.
age.
That makes
We'll
sense.
talk about Andy's education
Yeah.
in the podcast
Right,
episode.
That'll come.
Last podcast, I was talking about how to finally learn how to use my laptop. I think I learned how to log into it today.
Success.
So we're only
Yes.
getting one step closer to the moon. So.
iTunes, here we come.
And so, anyway, so when I hit about 13, and I have to throw out Anthony Hurst with this, and I don't know if he's ever going to listen to this at all. But
We'll make him solid dude.
Anthony, if you're listening to this, then shout out to
Hi,
you.
Anthony.
But seriously, though, he had such a huge impact on my just life with music. But he had been one of those kids that he found the drums. He loved them, so he started playing drums in band in school. And that eventually led to I got a guitar. It's so weird, but I got a guitar and he got a guitar for Christmas one year, and this was around 13, so I must have been 12 at the time. And so we were both like, well, let's learn how to play guitar together, and like we wanted to be in a rock band, so it was like, okay, we'll do this. And I found very quickly I had no patience for guitar. I'd kind of like pluck on strings, but it was like I do not want to learn how to do this. It hurts my fingers. This is stupid. And
my fingers hurt.
exactly, I was a baby with it. And so I remember going over to his house one day, and he had his drum kit set up in the garage. Well, Anthony had been the kid who like he took the guitar and he just like you're saying, Ricky, like he just played it nonstop.
Yeah.
So he got really good. He was able to play power chords really well.
You're
So
not
I
a guitar
remember-
player unless you know how to play power chords.
Yeah, right.
No classical music. No, power
Yeah.
chords. That's
No,
power
chords,
Just power
man.
chords. Yep.
Right.
All the
But at
great-
the time, he was. I
Right.
mean, he was able to play a lot of stuff, and so actually, he was very heavily influenced by Creed. What's the
yes.
album with Weathered or whatever?
It's Weathered.
Is
It's
it?
Weathered,
Is
yeah.
it? So he,
6 feet from the earth,
and I'm thinking, yeah. But anyways, I remember him setting me down on the drum kit, and I remember him just being like, I really think you'll like this. And so he taught me this super simple beat, just, hitting, kind of alternating between the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat, and then just going back and forth. And he was
Right.
like, just continue to do this. And it's like, I wanted to learn more, but he was like, just start slow, get to the point where you can do this fast, and it's not a problem anymore. That's how I started. And so like every day during the summer, I would just come over to his house. We'd get in that garage. It was super hot. We'd like turn on this huge machine shed fan, and I just slowly, progressively would just play beats and just figure out beats to what he was playing on guitar. And then as we got a little bit better, we were terrible at the time,
Right.
but we'd start to actually play covers of the bands that we were listening to. And so that was really where, and then I'd go home. And so I remember when I first got my kit, my parents were looking at my closet full of all of the, I swear, Mom and Dad, I'll do this thing. I'll learn it really, really well. So I've got a skateboard in there.
Yeah,
I've got just all of these things where it was my guitar at the time. So they were just this is the last thing. If you don't actually commit to this and do it, then you're not ever getting anything again.
Yeah, dude.
And so I proved him wrong, but every day, I'd
like
go
that, Mom and
downstairs.
Dad?
Yeah, how do you like that?
I know how to use a yo-yo.
Seriously though, thank you, Mom and Dad, for buying me that kit. But so I would just every day I'd go down and I'd play on it. I'd put on my headphones with my compact CD player at the time. I'd put on my favorite bands.
Did you wear the cargo so you could put it in your
Yes,
cargo?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'd
around.
loop it around on the
Yeah.
where your
So you
belt
wouldn't
loop
unplug
is.
it?
Yeah.
Did you know, random fact, that whole shockproof thing on the CD player never worked at all?
No
Anytime-
way, dude.
No.
It really didn't.
It did help with the school bus rides.
This da-da-da-da.
Yeah, because if you
All you hear is,
you held it very carefully, flat on your hands, and then you kind of moved with the bus as it bumped, it wouldn't skip because of the shockproof. but if you didn't, it would skip all the time.
You got it down to an art.
Oh yeah, dude.
You had this. You had the hand suspension going on for it.
Right. I'm telling you what, man. They had it right with the cassette tape.
Well, all you hear is as you're going on, you'd be listening to like Eminem, and then all you hear is just like where he like he's rapping just slicka Slim Shady. You're like, all right, thanks, Bus Ride.
Remix.
Which, by the way, I don't want to get too much off on a tangent, but Andy showed me this video the other day of Dave Grohl. What song is it?
Oh, it's okay. Look it up, YouTube. Foo Fighters, "The Best of You" loop, and it's just like the best, and it just goes on forever, and it never stops. And it's probably
God.
like the first time I watched it, I was sitting there like, when's he gonna go to the next line? Like, you don't know. Like,
You realize
perfect synchronization.
10 minutes later, like,
Amazing.
wait a second.
Gosh.
Actually, look up "Careless Whisperer" by George Michael. And it is a 10-hour loop of the
gosh.
intro. It's amazing.
One time at youth, like we put it on, right? And I think we probably had it going for 10 minutes before the kids were like, wait a second, we've been listening to Careless Whisperer on loop for 10 minutes.
So awesome.
Like, it was awesome.
Oh
It was
my
such a
gosh.
good
Not the
time.
greatest thing ever. So.
Yeah.
That's so good.
You're welcome.
But so anyway, so I just that's how I learned. Like I literally was self-taught for several years, and then finally my parents were like, I think they caught on, like, oh, he's actually really doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up taking drum lessons for like 3 months from a guy that made me start, and for a good reason, but made me start off like playing marimba. And then finally, it's like after 2 months of just like playing this instrument that I'm like, this isn't the drums. I want to play the drums.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, he's like, you've been promoted to the drum kit. So I sit down on the drum kit,
Promoted.
and this is the song. I'm not even joking. This is the song that he finally lets me start playing. "The Reason" by Hoobastank. So it's like after this long, agonizing, yes.
We're going to be going on an early 2000s stroll down memory lane here. So.
Yes. And so it's just like,
Good
I'm
stuff.
sitting here like, whatever. Like, at least I get to play on the drum kit. So that's literally like the first official song, like drum lesson wise, that I learned. And then I ended up getting like another 3 months of lessons from a guy at Missouri Western, and he had me do a lot of stuff on snare, which was actually really good.
Right,
Like,
he actually made you hit like the
Yeah.
snare. Like
Yeah.
until this point, you've never hit the snare on the drum
never,
ever.
not even once.
Not even
I
once.
had a drum kit
Is there
without
no
a
snare?
snare.
No reason?
And I actually, instead of a snare, I had a pillow on my leg, and I kind of hit on that.
They said that you couldn't do it. So.
Right. I proved him wrong, though. And so anyway, so that, like, long story short, that ended up leading into playing in the youth band at the time. Growing up in our church, I went to Mount Zion Baptist Church, and
That's where we played together.
Yeah, and Ricky's band actually ended up coming out and playing with a band that I had started with a couple guys from the youth band. Anyway, so just
We
kind
played
of
on the floor.
yes, we
I
played
feel
on the
like I'm
floor for
living
this.
in their memories right now.
There was this super, and I'm doing air quotes, but there's a super there's a super famous Christian band that came out, and
What was their name?
I can't even remember.
Yeah, because they were super famous.
Yes.
and stuff.
They're
So,
super
They
famous.
were
super famous.
jerks.
They were really mean.
They really were.
Seriously, they put a bad taste in my mouth for
Yes.
Christianity.
Yes.
Like, they made us play on the floor, and they
that's-
came like the day before and set up all their equipment or something, or like early morning, and they
Oh, yeah.
took the whole stage up, and they were super arrogant, and literally were like, "No, you guys are playing on the floor."
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but
We were like-
I specifically remember it was kind of like a very condescending, like, you guys can have your little group like over here in the corner.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa,
Yeah,
okay.
like you guys can't play dodgeball with us. Why don't you guys go play Foursquare over there?
So I just want to
Yes.
say with that, shout out to the band We Are Vessel.
Oh yeah,
Because this is the funniest thing ever. So Andy and I, as a part of this network of student ministries here in St. Joe, we hosted a concert at the church for the youth. And for whatever reason, I had a little bit of anxiety because of that band that came and played when we were kids.
sometimes you just want to see actual authenticity.
Right.
Christian-
And I was like,
authentic
man,
Christians.
I'm
Right.
really worried that these guys are going to be jerks. They weren't. They were totally awesome.
Totally
That's
awesome.
amazing. So,
Shout out to We Are
kind
Vessels.
of off on a little thing there, but that's so weird that it's been like 12 years,
And
and,
that's
I
such-
still
yeah.
have like some anxiety
Yeah.
from that.
And that's
So-
such a great thing. Like that's also one thing we'll probably touch on today is just like, seeing those Christian bands, the bands that you look up to, and like are they really Christians? Like,
Right.
do they commit? Like,
Right.
or do
Yeah.
we hold, are we brothers and sisters to them? Do
Yeah.
we rebuke them? Stuff happens, so that's also pretty
Yes.
good.
Yeah. Well, and then really quick with what you're saying, Ricky, like I think that just shows so much of the real weight to what we're doing in ministry. Like we really have to be like on our best selves. Every day that we're doing these roles, these jobs that we've been honored to be able to do, because that, like you're saying, like 12 years and it still has a bad taste in your mouth, and you still probably at times have to like kind of work through that trauma of just this, here's this Christian band coming in and like leading the youth to worship Jesus, and instead they're not modeling that at all. So. But to kind of wrap things up, like that eventually led to me playing in several, rock bands, secular rock bands, new metal especially, with the Lyre scene.
2000,
I played
2001, R.I.P.
Yeah, I played into. I got the privilege to actually play with my brother-in-law for a while in a like an indie rock band, Echoes from Airplanes, and that was actually really cool for the couple years that we did that, because it was just super fun, and that grew me the most probably, and led me to be able to do the Lyre scenes, the drumming and the singing that I was able to do in that. So, but all of that pretty well led up to really quickly. Katie and I were looking for a home church. Anthony Hurst again actually reached out to us when we were like feeling so desperate. We could not find a church that felt like it fit. And here, I haven't talked with Anthony in several years. He reaches out and says, "Can you come out and fill in for drums? I'm going to be leading worship." The lead worship pastor here is actually going to be out this week. Turns out that lead worship pastor was Seth. So I come out to the church, I fill in for drums. We're like, this is a cool church. So we come back again. I meet
It's
Seth.
all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. They preach the word of God. It's cool.
I meet Seth for the first time, and our relationship from that point on just continued to grow. And he, in a lot of ways, became a mentor to me and a super great friend. And I consider him a brother now. But and so that eventually, there's some things that happened at Missouri Valley, and one thing led to another, and Seth ended up actually going to the Edge Christian Fellowship here, took on the lead worship role, and he ended up actually extending an invite out to come out here to drum, and that's eventually what led to coming out to drum.
He actually got me back into listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival. If you guys don't know by the sound of my voice, I'm a brown guy, and so like
No, you sound white.
I sound so white. If you like listen, obviously this is just like straight up like all voice, so you guys probably thought it was white just by how articulate. Funny story actually. When I was in elementary school, we lived in a small town in upstate New York, like may sound super bad, but like super white town. And the teachers put us in speech class because I guess they thought we spoke Spanish, but joke's on them. We totally didn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Now I speak like super American.
Yeah.
Super American. Country accent.
Super American.
But you can speak some Spanish.
C.
There you
That's
go.
the extent of it.
C.
Yeah, bueno.
Muy bueno.
Muy bueno.
And so that ended up leading to Seth really taking a huge chance on me and asking me to come down to the South End campus that we had here at the Edge at the time, and I began leading worship for the first time. Did that for about 8 months, and then ended up coming back up to the Belt location and just kind of filled in on whatever was needed. Seth continually kind of had me get up on lead worship role, and that's just kind of turned into where it's at today, doing that. So what about you, Andy?
Oh, well.
You talk now.
For me, before I talk, there's a funny story. Daniel could never play an F chord. And he just recently told me this past week he has graduated and he can now play an F chord on the guitar.
Really? Smooth transition?
Yep.
Yeah, smooth
Victory.
transitions. This is great. In the
Nice.
guitar world, this is a complicated chord because it accents the F key. And
Are you teaching us?
I am teaching those with ears.
Andy is always on some level teaching.
Right.
So for me, to kind of go quick about this, I was 15 years old. This is back, I think it was like 2008 actually 2004, leading up to Christmas, I was like, "Hey, Dad, I want a guitar." And yeah, I think that's how I used to talk. I think that's how I used to talk.
Hey, Dad, I want a guitar.
Hey, Dad, can you give me a guitar?
You sound like, have you seen 8 Crazy Nights? You sound like the basketball coach.
Whitey.
Yeah, Whitey. That's what you sound like.
My back. So here I am, 15 years old, asking my dad for a guitar, and he's like, "Listen, if I get this with some good old greenbacks, you better play this bad boy."
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch you put it in your closet and collect dust. So I was like, all right, yeah,
I'm not
Dad,
going to let
sure.
you be a Daniel.
Right. Don't
what
be
you're
a
saying.
Daniel, even though I've never met. It's just like that phrase. It's
Right.
just, renowned. You just don't want to be a
Yep.
Daniel about things.
Yeah.
So he got it for me, and just kind of straight up from there on out, I was so intrigued by the fact that I could learn these songs and this and that. And fun little fact, about a few months into it, my brother Pat comes into the room and he goes, "You know that guitar's out of tune, right?" And I was like, "What?
No,
This
it's
whole
not.
time? What have I been doing these past few months?" It's the worst ever. But joke's on him, because I learned how to tune after that.
Nice.
So what's up?
You showed
What's
him.
up? Shout out to
How you
Pat.
like that,
though.
Pat?
What's up? Shout out to Pat though. for
Different
helping
Pat
me.
that we're mutual friends with. That we mentioned. His brother Pat.
But
He's also brown.
he is also brown because we're brothers. So,
Yeah.
but it was awesome because it was just I've never taped up my blisters before. I've just kind of powered through it. Probably worse. I probably, in hindsight, should have taped them.
That's why they make the tape.
Yeah. Oh, there is.
That's
Man,
actually the whole reason tape exists.
man, I'm just the worst in the world. But so Daniel's over here giving me gestures, and I'm trying to understand.
He's like, "Stop hitting the
table,
table.
so,
Stop hitting
yeah.
the table."
So
That's how Andy talks.
So I would.
He talks like a cartoon.
I talk like a cartoon.
Animated.
It was like doing gestures. Hey guys, no one can see these things. So I'd go on and learn to my extent of what my music genres were back then, which was just like straight punk stuff. Grew up listening to like MXPX, Reliant K. Thankfully to my brothers. Well, actually, like before instruments, I grew up on like rap, like NWA, Snoop Dogg, everything. So like,
Straight up.
I know. What's up, dude?
Nice.
And whenever I started learning an instrument, it all changed, thankfully, to my brother Pat. But started learning all these cool things. You have bands back then coming out. Yellow Card, Hooba Stank. So Blink 182 and everything like this. So grew up in a good time for music when it came out. So there's all these great riffs. I was like, oh yeah, let me learn all this stuff. So learned all that stuff. And then as time went on, I kind of you get into bands, you do your thing, and you learn from the mistakes you made in the first band. Like, oh man, dude, like if you listen to tracks back then, you're like, I suck.
You say
Like,
listen to Trap?
Trapped? Oh, if I could say one thing about Trapped, I would say, they taught me how to be headstrong. And that is an important thing when you're in 8th grade.
Andy's a firm believer that you grow out of music. Like, I grew up and I moved past that.
Yeah.
That's what he always tells me. Because I still go back and listen to the stuff I listened to in high school, and I'm like, no, if it's good and I like it, I like it. And he's like, no, I moved past that. He doesn't listen to metal now because he's past metal. I'm like, no, I still rage, man. I still
rage.
throw down. I still put in
One thing-
I still put in my middle, and I might close the office door, and I might headbang, and no one knows that I'm doing it, but I still do it.
Sometimes you just don't want to go chasing waterfalls, And that's what I learned. That's what I learned in my elementary school years. My 5 to 15-year-old age elementary school
Well, I don't want no
years.
scrubs.
That's true. Sometimes you just got to creep. So, so as I'm getting into bands and playing music with other people, you learn how to kind of play with them and really kind of groove. And Lord has really blessed me in the path of musicians that I was with, and it just helps you grow really to hear what other people have to say, really like constructive criticism and whatnot. And later on in the years, as I'm learning all this stuff, I actually joined the Air National Guard and went out to tech school out in Mississippi. And I'll tell you what, there from on out, it was a real blessing, because instead of just doing my own or kind of doing my own music and sticking to the genres I know, you have other people who go into the Air Force who are from different cultures, different backgrounds, and people flushing in and out of tech school, where you meet different musicians, and so they're teaching you different things. You're jamming with people from musical backgrounds as jazz, Latin music, just
That's so valuable.
yeah, it helps out in every aspect, because you're just like, oh, like this, you can do different things. So I grew as a musician from there on out, and kind of me getting into it. Actually, tech school was the first time I ever got into helping out with worship. I will never forget what a good teacher of ours was at the tech school. He goes, Andy, sometimes you don't always need to melt people's faces. It was.
See what we did there? We got that full circle.
Yeah, it was kind of his way of saying sometimes you got to humble yourself and just do what's best for worship. It's not about being flashy.
Ripping this lead. You're pinching harmonics in his
Just
face.
wiggity, just going at it. But it was a good humbling lesson to learn. And actually coming back from tech school, my wife and I got married, and we started attending the Edge where we're at right now, and it was kind of nice just to kind of back off for a little bit, not do anything. So we just, enjoyed services there for a while. And then we actually hit up our then pastor about, hey, I played in a worship band. I'd like to get involved, any way I can. And my wife, she sings very beautifully. And we were just so ecstatic to kind of do that. And so her and I just kind of learned what it meant to actually be worship, really musicians, and what that meant for our hearts and whatnot. And it was kind of great to see that develop into something greater.
Yeah.
It was, we try to do more than just doing the worship side of things. From helping out being a musician, we actually try to transition into just being actual volunteers at our church. And that's actually what humbled us most, just doing more than just being up there every Sunday. And,
I think it's difficult. When you have a gift, especially a gift that puts you in front of people, it's hard to balance that and still be servant minded. It's because it's if you're willing to play guitar or sing or play an instrument in the worship band, are you willing to change the trash? Those types of things, and it's hard. It's hard to balance that. You struggle with that because you're like, well, I'm gifted here, and it's you might be, but are you a servant? You know, and I totally get that. I get that.
Yeah, you should be willing at any time to
just whatever,
step down from that and to do something else.
Yeah, and that's an incredibly that's an important thing to have, just to stay humbled about it, and wherever God has you serving at that season, it's for that season. We try to get wrapped around no, this is what I'm going to be doing. In our American type attitudes, it's very much no, this is what I'm going to stick to. It's what I know. I'm going to do it forever. And then you get either jaded or you get worn out. These types of things, and
or you stay in it and you're just comfortable. Right.
Exactly.
Or you're comfortable with it, or you're above certain things.
Yeah. And the things that really helps out is knowing that in God's Word it tells us to humble ourselves. And even in those moments, we just have to realize that these things that we're in, it's for a season and not for our entire life. God has a plan for us, and that's what's important to keep in mind there. And which is actually what turned me into more of a behind the scenes type of guy. I went from practicing or playing in the worship band to taking a step away and actually being behind the soundboard and just doing more production side, which actually in hindsight helped me as a musician, because now I know what to look for, what sounds good, what the different dynamics, this and that. And it was really great to see that. But I mean, even after this, I step into what I do now, which is help out with audio visual stuff, and when
the
it
audio
comes
sound
to
stuff,
audio and sound and audio, Soundwaves, Soundgarden, Savage Garden.
Oh my gosh!
Okay. So really quick though, I wish so badly that I had these awesome classic rock bands as the first bands that I started listening to.
Right.
I'm not kidding when I say this. Savage Garden was the first legit band.
Are you getting
album.
confused with Savage Garden or Soundgarden?
No, I'm unfortunately Savage Garden.
Get out of town.
That was it.
I'm super happy right now.
It is. I hate it.
So,
In fact, that's.
So what is what was the first concert that you went to?
Oh man, I don't know.
You can't say.
It wasn't
It's
Savage
Savage
Garden.
Garden.
It wasn't.
I kid you not. The first concert I ever went to was a Stone Sour concert.
Was it
Stone
really?
Sour.
Yes, and it was
Wow.
outside the Beaumont Club before it closed down. Back in like 2006, I think, because it was the same year I went to Family Values tour.
Gotcha.
Because I was like,
Family
into,
values.
yeah,
Actually, it might have been Cutlass.
Cutlass.
That might have been the first concert that I ever went
Nice.
to.
My first concert was summer of '08, Warped Tour.
Ooh.
I know. I saw bands.
You just
from,
went straight like
I
gut
just
punch.
just gut punch and just a whole bunch of noise. Saw people like Jack's Mannequin, Reliant K,
Dude,
August
Jack's
Burns
Mannequin is so
Red.
good.
Yeah. Then you have people like I actually saw Gym Class Heroes back then. That funny story. This kind of rap band did a cover of Lamb of God, and I was just like,
Really?
what? Yeah, I was really confused, but like. It was crazy because you hear like Travis McCoy just kind of like scream like into the microphone. Then we all do a circle pit. Then it starts storming right before Angels and Airwaves got on, and it sucked because I didn't get to see Angels and Airwaves. Didn't get to hear my Tom DeLonge "Here I Am" type thing.
Yeah,
it
dude.
sucked so badly. But
That's perfect.
But got to see some amazing even metal bands. Devil Wears Prada. I literally saw Katy Perry.
Really?
Play. Yeah, funny story.
Dude, festivals are the best
So,
because you can catch
yeah.
so many artists if it's a good festival.
Yeah, if it's a good one.
Like not Rock
Yeah.
Fest.
Back when Warped Tour was good. So I'm sitting there, good buddy of ours, Cody Delaney, and actually buddy of ours who goes to our church now. Love you, Cody. Shout out. Trevor Calloway. We all were at Warped Tour.
Another shout out
And
there.
another shout out.
Trevor.
We were watching. We were actually waiting to go
You need to
see
tell
August
everybody
Burns
we're talking
Red.
about. Yeah.
And Katy Perry was before them. They were on opposite stages. So we're watching Katy Perry, just like, oh, okay, she's doing her thing before we see August Burns Red. So you have a whole bunch of like younger like teenage girls like, oh my gosh, Katy Perry. And then as soon as she ends, all you hear is August Burns Red, just like
Yeah, dude.
just like going at it, and all you see is you just running away. It was the best thing I'd ever seen.
That's awesome.
It was pretty good, but yeah, like first concerts are awesome. But to kind of wrap up my little me thing, like now I play and now I still do the audiovisual stuff at church, and I'm actually from a band side of it, kind of taking a step away for the longest time from being in a band, but now some buddies of mine, we actually started doing a band. And it's kind of funny because
You sound old the way you're saying that.
yeah,
We started doing a band.
started doing a band.
Like you sound.
Who does a
It's like
band?
an old guy. I'm doing a band again.
Yeah, it's okay. We do stuff and things. But- so I play music now in my band. We're called For the Team, and it's kind of for the first time in my life, it's actually doing music that I love. Going back to my punk roots and doing that. And what's nice about it is that I'm older. I know who I am in Christ, and it doesn't. One amazing thing is that I have fellow brothers in the band that are also Christians, and they hold me accountable. Actually, our first band was we were playing with a whole bunch of metal bands, and we're a punk band, so we were kind of out of our kind of scene, so to speak. And there was an atheist band that played right before us, and we were like, "Whoa, this is scary. This is weird." Not like scary, but you just saw you feel the presence there, and it was just like, we gotta pray. And our drummer Michael Dykes, he was like, "Hey guys, you want to
Shout
pray?"
out.
Shout out Michael Dykes. And you have Lyle Simon go, "Yeah, okay."
Yes.
So we go
Does
and do our
Lyle know
thing.
you do this impression of him?
He's heard I do the impression.
Well,
and,
Lyle, shout out.
And so he's like, "Hey man, let's pray." And I'm like, "Dude, yes." So we all gather in a circle, and like for the first time, you just see like what God is doing, and it's awesome to be in an environment that is really conducive to building you up in Christ and in your spirit. And to do that, like we did our show, and it was just a bunch of stress off our shoulders. We didn't have to be anybody else, and it's nice to have that. So it's great to be. We play secular music, but we're Christians who don't back down to our guns. Like we stand fast and hold fast in our faith.
Yeah.
For sure. But I mean,
well, I think that's super important. Like, you know, take some of the Mars Hill bands that left, you know, after everything happened there, and bands like King's Kaleidoscope and what they're doing now. Like their new album that's coming out, it is not focused specifically for corporate worship. I mean, it's really just, this is personal music that they're wanting to put out, and there is a biblical truth in it, and through it, because that's that's practically all of who those people are. But yet at the same time, the intent is for both the secular and the non-secular world.
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Andy's writing something down. So.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
So
Bands we're currently listening to.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the next topic, right?
All right.
Topic.
So
in wrapping things up here.
we're gonna hit on a couple of the main bands that we're listening to lately, just for fun.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah. Really, the only thing that's in my CD player right now is
P.S. Ricky's super cool, and he only listens to like cool stuff. So
For the Team. That's it, man. Just straight up For the Team. That's it. Hey, do you have a track we could tack onto the end of this? It might be kind of cool to just like send it out when we post this podcast.
guys, unfortunately, I don't know if you guys know this. Our EP isn't even out yet. It's in the old noggin right now.
I'm just saying, if you want to
So-
throw out a little sneak peek.
I wish I could, but
All
it's
right.
not even in our hands
Eventually, Andy will not be greedy with his music, and we'll let you listen to it. No, I mean, honestly, like I listen to a wide variety of different stuff. It kind of depends on my mood. I've been, like I told Andy the other day, I've been listening to a lot of rap lately. I've been throwing down on some NF and Trip Lee a lot. Trip Lee is probably my favorite rapper right now. That dude is solid. And there's just so much deep theology and just biblical truth in his music. Listening to, really excited for the new King's K and Citizens and Saints. Citizens and Saints getting ready to come out.
They're both coming out with new music.
I know, like that's amazing that we're gonna get that in the same year. That's gonna be incredible. So those two bands I'm listening to a lot. I'm listening to Thrice just came out with a new album.
Oh,
Love
they did.
it.
They did.
It's solid, man. I know that there are probably some old school Thrice fans that will disagree with me on this, but Dustin Kinser's voice has matured so much. He's got that natural grit thing going on now.
Yeah.
That you can hear on a lot of his solo work, but he had kind of like almost a more punky style voice in the early 2000s. And so it's like now, like with the maturity of his voice, so the music matured with it as well. Solid, love it. But then I'm also, I listen to a ton of like
Fred Durst, right?
Fred Durst! Bring it on! Introducing! I listen to like a ton of instrumental music for like sermon prep stuff, and so I really love Young Collective a lot.
Oh yeah.
Shout out, he probably isn't even listening to this, but he's actually from St. Joe.
Oh, we'll tag him.
Zane Callister, and love Young Collective. This is the Giant. Those bands are great. And then just recently got my hands on the We Are Vessel and Tim Serdinsky CD from the concert that we held. Yeah, dude ran a looper during his set. It was awesome.
Dude straight
He's like beatboxing and stuff like that.
He was like,
yeah, he was. It was
Yikes.
he sounded like a gorilla. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Like
but yeah, those bands probably. I mean, it just depends. I listen to a wide variety of stuff, and basically, if it's good, I'll listen to it. And so, but my opinion is always right.
Sure.
Yeah, because he's like the coolest in all the musics.
Yeah,
The musics.
straight up.
The musics.
I wear backwards hats.
He actually is wearing a hat backwards right
He
now.
is. He wears short sleeves over long sleeves over short sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
Three
Three
times
layers.
like too big.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
Daniel, what are you listening to?
The new Thrice album.
What's your favorite song?
Honestly, it's kind of weird, but the first
Hurricane?
Hurricane.
It's good.
Man, I love
Those freaking lyrics, man.
I know. And the intro though, coming from like that
weird guitar,
kind of distorted acoustic
Yep.
guitar into the full band coming.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
They're
insane. This is actually kind of weird for me, but I actually have been listening to like only 3 songs, but by Phil Wickham. He has a sampler for his album Children of God. I don't know.
Oh,
if
that's,
it's-
that's
watched the
good.
video for
Actually, I
this
just watched it
morning.
earlier.
Really?
today,
Yeah.
and it's
Good.
these 3 songs, like, and I downloaded them for free on Nooice Trade. I think
Nice.
you can still go there and download them for free, but just they're awesome. And I've just been listening to them, and it's just been really, really cool. Because normally I don't just listen to Phil Wickham like for personal listening. Wickham.
Sure.
And then all of the Mars Hills bands. I mean, that goes without saying. Dustin Kinsrew, Citizens and Saints, King's Kaleidoscope, and a Ghost Ship. They're all so good. And they just like those are the biggest influences music wise for me, just leading worship and having the right heart and the right mindset for what I'm doing. And then the last is Zach Bullen of Citizens and Saints. He recently released an independent album that he self-funded. It's titled 1001, and it's really, really good.
That's crazy. So he self-funds himself.
Yes.
Wow. So the money he puts in goes to himself?
I think he lost a lot of money doing this.
It sounds
But-
like he made an investment. And lost some money.
Yes.
It happens sometimes.
So go out and buy his album, test it out, and see if you like it. But if you do, I would definitely support him because he's doing really good work. Yeah.
There's something really cool. So we're all musicians, so we're pretty picky when it comes to our music.
Straight up.
So if you're looking for good Christian bands that like aren't K-Love style bands, like go check these bands out because these guys are phenomenal musicians that they do it for the Lord and you know, Christ's exaltation. But they're good. They're not cliche like Jesus is my boyfriend type of songs. So
You know, it's actually funny because I was it's kind of ironic that we're doing a podcast right now when I actually was listening to a podcast from the guys of Emory, and they had Aaron Gillespie. Oh yeah, they had Aaron Gillespie as a guest, and he was talking about how he did the whole mainstream Christian type music thing.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how whenever they're in the meetings, how the label had expectations, and they go, as Aaron tells the story, he goes, they were talking to him about his audience, and his audience was the mother of the children who has soccer practice, and she has a bad day, and you're trying. That is your audience. And sometimes, like for me, I know I got jaded there for a while listening to kind of like some of the K-Love and everything like that, just because it was if you take out God or Jesus in some of those songs, you replace it with a name, and it's like a boyfriend song.
Right.
So there for a while, it was just like,
Right.
this kind of sucks for a little bit of it.
And even stylistically, like those songs are
Generic.
Unfortunately, they're so generic and they're
Cookie
so
cutter.
it's
And
exactly
exactly. And so when it comes to like on a heart to heart basis, like it was kind of refreshing to actually go back and look at these other artists who are committed, like amazingly, like our friend Gina Gunter, shout out. She actually got me into listening to Dustin Kinsrew, and which is funny
And
story.
props for pronouncing his last name right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. We went and saw him at a conference, and the whole time we were like, Dustin Kinzer.
Kinzer. And he
Kinzer.
gets up there and he's like, "Hi guys, I'm Dustin Kinsrew."
And we're just like,
Flipped our world upside down.
Done.
And
what
you
was-
look at the spelling, and you're like, we just can't read.
Yeah.
No, funny story about Dustin Kinsrew is that
Kinsrew.
I had never actually listened to Thrice once before, and touching back on our good friend Seth Mason, he actually
Shout
Shout
out.
out! He actually let me borrow a Thrice vinyl and threw it on.
What a
oh
guy.
My gosh,
What a stand-up guy.
phenomenal! And I fell in love with him, and then just after I heard about Dustin Kinsrew, and I was like, what, this is the same guy?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And so now, like, going back onto it, like, you actually have these guys who, you may not hear their stuff on Caleb, but they're, like, committed Christians. I got into listening to Lecrae, and then it opened up my eyes, just onto what it means to actually be Christian and not just this mainstream type of thing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, real things happen in life, and it's good to hear artists who are touching on things like that, and not just like directed towards a specific audience.
So the question is, who are you recently listening to?
I'm listening to. So it's kind of funny. When it comes to like actually listening to music, I touch more like on my punk side of things,
right?
Secular music,
Yeah.
but
He
when
only
it's
listens to punk.
Yeah.
strictly
And Dustin
punk,
Kinzer, apparently.
Right.
Dustin Kinzer. But when it comes to like studying and stuff, whenever I gotta get away, I gotta just buckle down and study. I throw in Young Collective like all the time. It's funny just hearing someone you kind of know produce an album, and you're like, whoa, this is really good. And then I throw in some instrumental, King's K, just throw that on, just kind of chill. I don't really like listening to, especially when I'm studying, I can't do words. And
yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, if I'm
you just have to
studying,
get
it's
away and
instrumental
just
for
like,
sure.
just straight instrumental. And that's what's pretty nice, being involved in youth. So I actually help out with the kids with youth worship, and we have a great band, and it's awesome just to see how much they've grown into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tackling kind of like how Daniel touched on really, I don't know if he actually touched on this, like the importance of like the worship. Actually, we were doing
We did a video on it.
We were doing a video on like what it means to be a worship leader and what it means to us, doing that. And so, the importance of not just putting out a song or playing a song that you can play and that you love, but it's actually like you want it to be theologically correct and be intentional with the message, this and that. So like I've actually just been listening to a lot of like Hillsong, Young and Free, just to kind of like see what it is and everything like that, to see if the kids will like it. And like every other song, you're like, I don't want to play this because don't want to be too upbeat and lose the sign of Jesus or anything like that.
Yeah.
So just kind of let my ears kind of understand and really see what they're throwing out there. Really smell what they're stepping in, so to speak. But when it comes to like bands I'm listening to outside of studying, I'll tell you what, I'm going back to like my old punk roots, like straight up MXPX. I've gone back to listening to some of these bands you guys might have never heard of. Starting Plan. I just mixed up Starting Line and Simple Plan.
Simple Plan. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did get a Simple Plan vibe from the last song that you let me listen to.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but they're definitely.
Oh, yeah.
That was something that I was hearing just from my past.
Yeah, you'll hear from me. You will hear a lot of like older references coming in. I'm kind of like the old guy when it comes to like the band I'm in right now. Like throwing up, hey you guys, how about this? What about we do a cover of Green Day? Like, they're like,
Yeah.
No.
The kids are like, who's Green Day?
Then they're like, American Idiot. I'm like, you obviously don't know Green Day then.
I get Dookie, anybody?
So I listened to some old stuff nowadays. Even going back to seeing you guys were talking about you guys were on a sampler CD.
Yeah.
I'm listening to old sample CDs of bands that were on it. You
I've
hear
got
like
one
B
all I
sides
listen
and
to,
everything
bro.
like that.
Go DIY Records.
Go DIY Records.
It's got the Liars scene.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, were you
great.
guys in the Liars scene? That's amazing. Can I get your guys' autograph?
All right.
Your Herbie Hancock. So, but yeah, we're all we all listen to different things, and we encourage you to definitely check out some of the bands, especially when it comes to like listening to some of these Christian bands. Listen to some Dustin Kinzer, King's K. That's some good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Definitely some Young Collective.
Yes, for sure. Well, I think that probably about wraps things up. So just to kind of explain things, you're getting a double dose this week. We'll call this the double dip episode.
Oh, there you go.
The double dip.
You're getting a double dip this week because Andy and I are going to be heading out of town on a youth mission trip. So if you could, be praying for us. We're going to be going down to Camp Barnabas to serve the kids down there at camp for the week. And so we want to stick to this. We want to make this a regular thing. We're going to try to record a podcast a week. And because we won't be out of town, we're going to let you guys double dip this week. So hopefully you enjoyed this. You got a little bit of insight on just where we're from, where we come from, and those types of things. And you have some great bands to check out. So
P.S. If you don't double dip a French fry in the ketchup, you are sinning because it's okay to share. It's
Truth.
okay to double dip. with
Hashtag, what
others.
are you? Yeah. Well, is it?
I think it's okay.
We should get Scott Hawkins' take on this, but he's studying for Sunday Message.
That's true.
So,
it's kind of a germaphobe.
all right. Well, we love you guys. We will be back in a couple of weeks, and we will send off with our signature send off.
Oh gosh.
1,
2,
2, wink.
Oh, was it 1, 2, 3?
It's 1, 2,
Shoot?
wink.
Is it like
1, 2, wink. Ready?
1,
1,
2,
2,
wink.
wink?
1, 2, wink.